First of all, I want to say thank you to Superior Plastic Products for inviting me to come out here today. They are one of our best customers, and I say that because the people we've placed in this company, and we've got to be right around 24 by now, they come up to us again and again and say, thank you for connecting us with this organization. I love my job. I love being a part of this team. They have just done a phenomenal job of creating a culture of learning, as Ray described, where people really matter and they're asked to bring their heads and their hearts to work every day. So they're just a great company. If you have a chance to talk to any of their leadership team about some of their strategies, I would encourage you to do that. So Tommy invited me to speak, and he said the theme this year is Grow Better. And he wanted me to talk about hiring. And my first reaction was, Tommy, like, Ray actually had me develop 8 hours worth of training on this. How much time do I actually have? And he said 45 minutes. Okay. So I tend to be a really practical person, and I like to leave a seminar with something I can go home and just like put right into practice. So I decided to focus on the very first step of the hiring process, which is really the foundation that will set you up for success as you start to interview, as you review resumes, as you make these final decisions. So we're going to start with the critical questions that you're going to ask before you even tell your employees you're hiring, before you write your job ad, before you do anything else. You're going to answer these questions. So I want to know who in this room can relate to this scenario. It's been a great week. It's Friday afternoon. One of your employees comes up to you and they say, hey, we need to talk. And they got the look, right? You're like, this is not going to be a fun talk. So you shut the door and they give you their 2-week notice. Maybe they're moving, maybe a family situation, maybe your competitor made them an offer they couldn't turn down. How many people have had that talk? All right, some of us. How many of you have been in this scenario? It's busy. You're like, wow, you know, the business is really starting to pick up. But, you know, in a few weeks, it'll level out. We'll be okay. A couple weeks later, you're like, oh, boy, it's still really busy. But, you know, this is just a cycle. It's going to slow down. We're all going to be okay. The end of the month hits, and you're like, wow, we're even busier than we were 4 weeks ago when I said it was going to level off. If I don't hire somebody soon, you know, I'm going to put my team into like mental breakdown here. Has anyone hit that point where you're like, I should have hired a month ago, 2 months ago, and it just kept getting busier? So how many people have been in one of those situations or something similar and done what I'll call a warm body hire? You were like, I just need to fill this hole in my business. I just need another installer. I just need an office person, and someone comes across your lap via referral from a friend, or they walk in and apply, and whether you want to admit it or not, you filled the hole. You didn't go through a thorough process, you just made the hire. Like literally only one person in this room has done that? Okay, all right. I was gonna say, this cannot be real. You guys are awesome if you've never done that. So, how many people have ever regretted someone they hired? Okay, a lot of people. So what we're going to talk about is what's going to prevent you from doing that warm body hire. And that is, my grandma always said, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Did anybody else's grandma say that? My grandma said that all the time. She's right. We're going to go through 3 questions that you're going to ask. And I'm going to tell you this. Next time you need to hire, take an hour, 1 hour with you, and better yet if you can bring a couple teammates in, come in an hour early to work, or set aside an hour in your calendar, tell your receptionist no calls, turn off your email, and focus for 1 hour on these 3 things. What is this person going to do in my business? What type of person do we need? And why does this person want to work for my company? Why are we going to answer these questions? Because the answers to these questions are going to be the foundation for your job ad and your job description. It is important to note that a job description and a job ad are 2 totally different beasts. A job description is the legal document in your business that offers you some protection. It's also the document that helps you evaluate, or if you do employee evaluations or any type of system like that, you know, is this person successful? The job ad is a marketing piece that tells your story. Think of it like when you're marketing to your customers. You're marketing to job candidates. This is my company. This is our story. This is the kind of person we're looking for. So answering these questions are going to help you write up those 2 documents. When you start getting resumes in, whether it's referrals for your employees or from online ads or newspaper ads, it's going to help you identify what candidates do you actually want to interview. If you know your ideal candidate, you can look at a piece of paper that lists somebody's work history and say, well, they're close or they're really not. When you get to the interview stage, it's going to help you write up your interview questions. If you're going to ask totally different questions of someone for a bookkeeper position, than a sales position, than an installer position. So when you know what you want, you know what kind of questions you need to ask to get to the heart of it. As they answer these questions, you now have a criteria by which to evaluate people. If this is my ideal, how close is this person? Are they a 70% match? Are they a 90% match? Don't hold out for the 100% match. You may never make a hire if you look for the perfect person, but you want to get close. It's really going to improve your chances of hiring the right person. And it's going to minimize your risk of hiring a warm body. And I'm going to give just a real quick illustration of one of my customers and why this is so important. So this business owner had a bookkeeping kind of data entry position available in his company. And they were really busy, and he knew this lady from church, okay? And as he described her to me, she had the most wonderful personality of anyone he ever knew or ever met. I don't really know how his wife felt about him saying that, but that's what he told me. Best personality of anyone I've ever met. She was a delightful person, good Christian woman, like honest, good culture fit for him. She was working in a position that was in the hospitality industry, very customer service oriented. He needed a bookkeeper, data entry person, but he just knew she was going to be a great culture fit, and he just thought, well, I'll just teach her what she needs to know. So she quit her job because this was a little more lucrative. It paid a little more. The benefits were better. She took the job. She lasted 4 days. She cried every day at work because this woman who loved hospitality and loved people and had a wonderful, warm, welcoming personality found herself sitting all day behind a computer crunching numbers. She hated it, realized she had made a huge mistake. He realized he had made a huge mistake. Thank God she was able to go get her old job back because that could have ended really badly. 4 days in the job. And she was a great person. It wasn't that she was a bad person, but he hadn't taken the time on the front end to think about what he really needed and communicate that to her. Now, she should have asked more questions too, so it wasn't all on him, but neither one of them really made a clear picture, and it resulted in a bit of a fiasco. All right, so the very first question we're going to talk about is, what will this person do? Now, Sam Fisher from Fisher Brothers Exteriors so graciously offered to help me out with this. He is actually going to talk through some of these questions with me, and I'll let you know when it's your turn to talk. And so you can see how this will play out. He is thinking about adding a salesperson to his team, maybe sometime in the first half of the year. All right, so what is this person going to do? What are their basic responsibilities? We're going to think about daily, weekly, monthly, even annual tasks. So for example, if your person has to do inventory at the end of the year, or they need to do quarterly reports or monthly reports, what are the tasks? Just the basic stuff that this person's going to do their first year on the job. And I think it's also helpful to think through what a typical day will look like. And sometimes you'll say, well, there is no such thing as a typical day, but usually there's at least some basic things they'll do most of the days they're there, whether it's checking emails, answering phones, going out on sales calls, what have you. So Sam, if you're ready, tell us a little bit about the position you're thinking of adding and what some of these tasks are going to look like. And you're welcome to come up here if you want to stay seated. That's fine too. And actually,
Hi, I'm Sam Fisher.
Let me real quick say, I know Sam from a business group I'm in, and so I did kind of corner him this morning and convince him to do this last minute. So this is not prepared, but he's going to do great.
Yeah, so I'm Sam Fisher. I head off our deck and remodeling division at Fisher Brothers Exteriors. We'd be looking to hire a salesperson in our decking division. And typically what a salesman would do in our decking division would be, line up, take the lead calls, schedule customer meetings, also meet the customer on site, go through designing. And then in this division, we're looking to have our salesmen also be designers as well. So there's a lot required from our salesmen to go out and meet the customer, look at their needs, and then design and estimate. Some estimating as well goes with that.
Okay. Do you have an idea about how many meetings they would do in a week and how much time in the office versus out in the field?
So typically, probably 4 to 5 meetings a week. So they would probably spend probably 70% of their time in the office designing and coming up with drawings and reworking the drawings, so forth. So
Okay. And are they doing their own estimating?
currently, yes, they are doing their own estimating. Yes,
Okay.
we're getting help on the back end with that for bigger, larger projects. So.
Okay. So they're going out, they're meeting with customers, measuring, designing. I'm assuming doing some kind of follow up with them afterwards.
Yeah, sending the quotes out, following up. Revision is a big deal. Revising, meeting that customer probably for a second, third time, possibly sometimes. So
Now, once the project is sold, are they also managing the project?
currently, yes, that salesman is also managing, which we're trying to organize and delegate that responsibility to a project manager. We're not there yet, so yeah, that salesman is part of the job throughout the whole project.
So it's a full cycle person we're looking for, someone that can meet the customer and organize their project start to finish.
Correct.
Anything that goes on like monthly or annually, any kind of sales reports that they have to generate?
Yeah, so I mean, weekly we're sitting down weekly and reviewing, our sales projection for the year and what we need to hit monthly and quarterly, trying to make sure we're staying on track what we need to do. So we're sitting down together with our team and looking where we're at as a team versus individual. Yes.
Okay. What does a typical day look like? I mean, how are they spending their time on a typical day?
Typically, I mean, depends if it right now, like we have about 2 days a week where the salesman is set to go out. Like, let's just say for Tuesdays and Thursdays, they're going out and meeting customers. So on those days they're going out, they're trying to meet 4 customers per day. Actually, it varies. You might be looking at 8 customers per week. So the schedule varies. So you're looking at going out, meeting customers, hopefully being back in the office for a couple hours that evening to make sure all the data gets entered in and starting to prepare to get that estimate together. So, and then the days that they're in the office, you're designing and estimating, kind of however it fits together, really.
Okay.
But right now they're coming in at 5:30 a.m. in the morning and going home at 4:45. So right
Okay.
now we're putting long hours.
Long hours in. So do you see how we went from a picture of we need a salesperson to understanding we actually need a salesperson, designer, estimator, project manager? That's a totally different beast than just a salesperson. And just thinking through this question really brought a lot of clarity about, okay, what is this role actually? All right, so Sam, what does success look like for this role? If you got to the end of this person's first year, what would make you say, wow, that was a win? This guy, he killed it.
Well, first of all, we're always gauging our customer experience that they're having, the customer feedback that we're getting from them. That's probably the number one critical thing, that they're getting good experience working with this new salesman. And also our in-house employees that are having a good experience working with that salesman / project manager and making sure that process goes smoothly. But in numbers, we have projected sales goals for every salesman. So we're always looking at that too and trying to make sure that we're hitting those numbers as well. So.
Okay. So success looks like strong customer service satisfaction, that other coworkers had a good experience with him, and also that they hit their sales numbers. So that's pretty clearly defined. If you're looking for, say, a bookkeeper, maybe it's that the reconciliations were all to the penny correct every month, or if you're looking for an estimator, maybe you're like, you know what, if this person was really successful, instead of taking 2 weeks to get estimates out the door, we got them all out within 5 days. So think through, when you make this hire at the end of the year, what does a win look like? What makes you say, wow, that was the right person for this job? Okay, so then looking at schedule, and this is really, really important. You need to establish if it's full-time or part-time. And sometimes I get a position, usually the administrative ones, where the business owner will say to me, well, I could actually hire 2 part-time people and divide this job in half, or 1 full-time person. So it's important to think about that. Start time, end time. I heard Sam say they start at 5:30?
5:45.
5:45 and go till
4:45.
4:45. So that's a long day. Not everyone's going to want those hours. Is there any flexibility in this schedule? So Sam, actually, if somebody needs to leave early because they have an appointment or a kid's soccer game, can they leave
Yes.
early one day?
Yeah, we try to be very flexible with that. Yes.
And then, Sam, are there busy or slow times of the year that, you know, maybe we work more spring and summer and then it slows off like fall, winter? Or is it just, you guys are full throttle all year long?
Yeah, I mean, we're always learning. So in the off seasons, in December, January, and February, we're spending time putting systems together, improving our systems, coming up with new ideas. So in the office, it doesn't seem to ever slow down. So.
Okay, so they're doing overtime year-round. Sometimes I'll have business owners that'll tell me, well, we do 55 hours over the summer, spring, summer, fall, but then we're really back to like 30, 40 hours through the slower winter months. So that's important to clear that with candidates. And I will say this, especially with the younger generation, I'm getting more and more pushback against overtime. I literally had a very qualified young woman turn down a job because it was 42 and a half hours a week. She's like, I do not want overtime. And then there was another lady for that same job who turned it down because of those 2.5 hours of overtime. She has a son who's in middle school, and she said, that's going to be 2.5 hours less a week I get with him, and I'm not willing to do it. So I have to respect her for that decision. But it's really important that you know what schedule you have in mind. And if it's non-negotiable, you're going to want to communicate that. Because for some people, even just a little bit of overtime is a deal breaker, let alone the kind of overtime Sam's talking about. Not being said, there are people who are excited about overtime, but I am seeing that especially millennials just are not wanting the overtime that people 15 years ago would have been excited about. All right, so the next topic you want to address is, what type of person do you need? So in that illustration I gave earlier about the woman who came from the hospitality customer service position who took the data entry position, that was really a mismatch of the type of person. I'm sure she could have learned those skills if she had been motivated to do so, but she would never have been fulfilled by them. So it's really important that once you know what this person's going to do, that we figure out what type of person we do need. So the first thing I want you to think about are, what are the non-negotiables? What skills do they absolutely, positively have to do this job? So let's say you have a fencing crew, and this person's going to be driving your truck and trailer. They have to have a driver's license, non-negotiable. If they have a DUI and lost their license, they cannot work for you. Or maybe your insurance requires a clean driving record for a certain number of years. You want to think about that ahead of time and actually even communicate it very early on in the interview process. For us, if we're screening resumes for a client, one of the first interview questions we'll ask is, do you have a driver's license? Yes. Do you have a clean driving record? Well, I have a DUI from 18 months ago. Stop, done, the interview's over. Deal breaker, non-negotiable. So those non-negotiables we're looking for up front. If it's an administrative person, maybe they need to know how to run payroll. You don't have time to teach them, you want them to know. Knowledge of QuickBooks. I believe Sam uses Excel a lot in his company. If you live by Excel and you want this person to know it, that becomes a non-negotiable. If you guys are looking for skilled labor, for example, working from a ladder. I'm terrified of heights. I would pass out and fall on the ground. Like, you don't want me on a ladder. Some people are genuinely afraid of heights, so that's a non-negotiable. You want to ask that up front. Weight, can they lift a certain amount? Some people, if they're they've had an injury, a back injury. Like I just interviewed a young man who was injured in a skiing accident. When we asked him, can you lift? No, he couldn't because of this accident he had in his past. Even though he looked very young and healthy, that was an issue for him. So Sam, do you have any non-negotiables for this salesperson? Things that they've got to know or be able to do to even be considered for the job?
Well, one of the big things we're looking for too is like you have to almost have in the field experience building these projects from the ground up before you get into a sales position. It's not a non-negotiable, but we're definitely helps qualify the person. Just trying to think of another one.
Well, and a driver's, because they're going
Oh,
out.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, drivers. Well, we do have Amish people going out doing sales
Okay, and then
too,
you
so-
hire a driver for them.
Yes.
Okay.
But
So that's
it's
not a
def-
non-negotiable
It's
for
not
you.
a non-negotiable, no.
Okay. And what about Excel or any programs that they need to know?
I mean, we're always looking at character too, hire a character, and then we can train some of these things, so it's not a non-negotiable, but all these would definitely qualify the person better.
Okay. All right, so then you want to look at your wish list items. What are some things that you would like them to have, but maybe you could teach them? Now, I'm going to put a disclaimer on this. Sometimes I'll talk to a business owner and they'll say to me, well, if you give me somebody that's the right culture fit and has the right motivation, I'll just teach them anything, even if they don't know about this. To which I usually ask, do you really mean that? So if you're going to take like a clerical person and say, teach them to be your bookkeeper, do you have 10 hours a week to sit there with them and actually teach them how to do this? No. Does someone on your team have 10 hours a week to sit there? No, I don't have anyone on my team that knows how to use QuickBooks. My bookkeeper's leaving. Okay, then no. No, we can't take somebody that doesn't know how QuickBooks and put them in your business because you don't have time to teach them. Now, some positions, like let's say, once again, going back to the fencing example, you have a skilled foreman on that crew that can mentor someone with the right aptitudes and teach them how to put up a fence or make a deck. But if you don't have someone on your team that can do the teaching, resist the temptation to make this wish list long and your non-negotiables short. You have to have time to teach things. So examples of some wish lists, maybe like I just worked on an office position, and part of it was scheduling out the jobs. And he said, that's not a hard thing to teach. We have a system in place. We could teach someone how to do that. But it would be helpful if they knew, had experience calling customers and subs and scheduling jobs. Hauling a trailer. So maybe if they've driven a truck before, but they've never hauled a trailer, I had a business owner say, hey, I can teach someone how to haul a trailer. That's not a big deal as long as they're willing to learn. Maybe knowledge of a specific industry. So I've had people say, I'm looking for a bookkeeper, I'm a manufacturer. I would love if this person had manufacturing experience. But if they're coming from construction, they'll pick up on manufacturing. Or if it's a salesperson, maybe business connections in a particular region. Sam does a lot of work down the main line. So if he would find a salesperson that has experience working in that clientele, that would be a big advantage. So Sam, what are some of your wish list items?
Some of my wish list items would be having in the field experience constructing from the ground up, and then, if they came from a previous job where they were working with Excel, that would be a huge learning curve. And then also, if they have any knowledge of the software that we use to design, would be a huge item as well, if that answers your question.
Sure. Now I'm going to push you on the construction knowledge. So you could take me who knows nothing about construction and teach me?
Well,
Do
if
you
you're
have
willing
time
to
to
learn-
do that?
No.
So do they need to know, I'm looking at your position, I'm thinking they need to know something about construction.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Maybe I misstated that, but yes, they do need to know about construction. That would be, yeah.
I think that goes on your non-negotiable
Yeah,
list.
you're probably, yes, you're right.
So it's good to know your deal breakers versus your want to haves. All right, so given the core responsibilities of this position, what type of person enjoys this job? How many people here are familiar with the DISC personality assessment? Do we have, okay, so quite a few of you. There's lots of personality tools out there. I happen to like this one because it's very easy to explain in 2 minutes in a seminar. So it stands for DISC, dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness. And the best way I know to explain it is in a story. So let's say we all decided we were going to climb a mountain together. And we get to the bottom of the mountain. The Ds, they look at the top and they say, let's go. They have the vision. They know where they're going. They drive hard. They push. They are results oriented. They're not worried about all the details. They just want to get to the top. And they're the people in your business that just have all the motivation and all the drive. Very direct communicators. If you get on a D's nerves, there's a good chance they're going to tell you about it. Hopefully they've learned to do that politely. But you don't wonder where a D stands, generally speaking. They're not afraid to speak their mind. In a lean culture, they're not afraid to share their ideas. They're not really afraid of much. They just want to go. The result matters. Your eyes, I'm an I. We're the ones at the bottom of the mountain saying, hey, is everybody so excited? This is going to be a really fun adventure. The view from the top of the mountain will be breathtaking. Eyes are idea people. It was probably their idea to have a big party and climb the mountain together. They just are creative, optimistic, high energy, tend to be really good at sales because they're very influential, and they love connecting with people. Also, we talk with our hands. Steadiness, those S's. The S looks at you and says, you seem kind of nervous about this. Oh my word, okay, you're afraid of heights? Don't worry about it, I'm right here with you. We'll climb it together, right by your side, the whole way up. Those are the people in your life that you can count on no matter what. They show up for work every day. They're consistent. You give them something that needs to be done, they'll get it done for you. They just want to help. Now, they also don't want to hurt your feelings. So if you give them a bad idea to do, there's a good chance they're going to do your bad idea and maybe be a little hesitant. Like the D's going to be like, this is a terrible idea. We're not doing this. And the S is going to be like, yes, that's a wonderful idea. We'll do that. Right now, we'll do that. So but the S's, you can count on them. They tend to be great at customer service because your customer calls up and they got the wrong order, you messed something up, and they will just calm them right down and soothe them and take care of them and make them feel so loved. Your C's, okay? They're the ones at the bottom of the mountain going, all right, do we have bottled water? Check. Let's double check. We got the maps. The D's don't have the maps. They left without them. But it doesn't matter. Even if the D's get lost, they know where the top is. They're going to find it. The C's are, okay, we have a first aid kit. When the I's came up with the crazy idea to climb the mountain, the C's said, okay, who's carpooling with who? What time are we meeting? This is where we're stopping for lunch. They have everything planned out. They make wonderful bookkeepers. I's, like me, we're terrible bookkeepers. We don't want to slow down and crunch numbers. And that's part of the problem with this story I gave earlier. She was like an IS combination, and she just loved people. She didn't want to sit all day and type. But there are people, my mother-in-law's a C, and she loves nothing more than to just sit and run numbers. And I'm like, I don't get you. Like, so weird. But she looks at me and she's like, I don't understand why you like this hiring thing. It's so ambiguous and it's all people all the time. So those are some of the differences. And different types of people are good at different types of jobs. I like to look at it as a wheel. Most people have a primary trait that's really their thing that they're good at, or their primary way of behaving in the world. But you know, even I have a tiny little bit of C in me. I can do details if I have to. Even the D does have a little bit of S, compassion, but what you don't usually see is an I with a lot of C traits, or a D with a lot of S traits, or vice versa. Those are complete opposites each other. But what you might find is an ID or an IS or a CS or a CD. So what you want to do is you want to look at your role and even the dynamics of your team and say, okay, what kind of person do I need for this role? Like I said, if it's customer service, you probably want some S in there. If it's, you know, a sales position, you might want some I or D in there because they're really results oriented and they're really going to get out there. D's are not afraid to do outside sales because they're just not afraid. C's don't generally, now I have met some C salespeople, but C's generally don't go for sales. So what kind of person do you think you're looking for? Because yours is a lot of outside sales, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of outside sales. We definitely want somebody that's, you know, willing or not afraid of engaging into meeting new people and I would say, is that would be a C? Is that right?
Well, the D's the one. D, I's. I's are very outgoing, influential, naturally going to persuade people that your company is the
Gotcha.
best
Yeah, yeah.
one.
I'm not reading it correctly. So yeah, the I's would probably be the most.
But see, you kind of, I'm going to pick on you.
Go ahead.
And this is one of my complaints with the construction industry with like full cycle salespeople. You sort of want someone with multiple personality
Right.
disorder, is what you want. Because he's telling me he needs like this outgoing I to sell things, and this D that's unafraid of being out there, and this C that can, put all these details together into an estimate and a design. So what I would tell you to do is figure out what's the most important thing, and then like Ray said, we're working around somebody's weaknesses. The most important thing is that sales process, and you can maybe get some office support on design or estimating. Then you want a DI. But if really, like, they can't get help on estimating, then you might want a DC and just hope that their personal, they've got that outgoingness to close the deal. Somewhere in your process, they're going to be strong, and somewhere in your process, they're going to have to manage a weakness. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So and maybe you can think about your current team and where they fall.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to figure out where I fit on that list. But
I know where I think you fit.
Yeah, so, I mean, thinking through this, you do need a lot of different skill sets to go out there and sell, and like you were saying. But, I would say probably an I, if that makes sense, if I'm reading that correctly.
Okay, so that kind of outgoing, that's the most important piece that they can bring that deal home.
Right.
Okay. But that's something to think about if you have a role with a diversity of responsibilities. People are not naturally going to be good at everything you may want them to do. So you either need to adapt your expectations or look at the core responsibilities and say this is where they're going to spend 80% of their time, and someone with a C personality, for example, is going to like that the best. All right, so now we've figured out what this person's going to do, what type of person they are. We want to know, why do they want to work for me? And this is really a marketing question, but it's also a match question, which we'll see in a minute. So what do you have to offer in pay and benefits? And that's just all your standard stuff, health, dental, vision, retirement with a match. A big one I put on the bottom is apprenticeship or on-the-job training. For some of your skilled labor positions, some of you guys have the unique advantage of taking someone very entry level, and you've got a skilled foreman who can train them up. So maybe they didn't go to college or they didn't go to trade school, but you can really you can pay them to get that education. That is a big benefit for people. So Sam, just real quick, do you know off the top of your head what you guys have in terms of pay and benefits?
Yeah, I don't know all of them, but we have a 401k plan, which we just implemented last year, and then we have competitive pay wages. We have sales, compensate on sales, commission of sales, a couple others here, but.
Okay, and do you have health, dental, vision?
We do not have health.
Is there anyone else in that, but who else does not have health, dental, vision benefits? Okay. That can be worked around, but know that in this market, or at least locally here in Lancaster County, you're going to be looking to pay $3, $4 more per hour for that same person. Maybe they'd work for $15 an hour for your competitor with benefits. You might have to pay them $18 or even $20 an hour to offset your lack of benefits, especially if they have a family and they need family medical benefits. So it's not a deal breaker for candidates, but you really have to up your offer. In the recession, we had 6.6 job seekers for every open position. Right now, at least locally, we have 0.9 job seekers for every open position. So that means right now we have more jobs than we have human beings looking for jobs. When you guys think about your competitors aren't just the other people selling your products. Your competitors are anybody looking for the same kind of help that you are looking for. So if you are looking for skilled labor and you do decking, Drywallers are your competitors. Roofers are your competitors. Framers are your competitors because they're all looking for skilled labor. Even the HVAC company is your competitor. So you have to kind of shift from thinking about your competition being people who want your customers to thinking about your competition being the people who want the same kind of employees that you want. It's definitely a change in perspective. So I'm seeing locally in the last year or two wages really starting to rise in response to this. So it's something to be aware of. Okay, so another thing you want to think about is what are the values of your company that you want someone to buy into? Some of you are, really ahead of the game and you have a written vision, mission, and value statement. Some of my customers are smaller or younger businesses and they just haven't written one yet. So that's something we talk about. Who are you as a company? Some people will fit into that and some people won't. Quite a lot of my customers, have a strong faith value to their business. If that's part of who you are, I even encourage people to put that in the job ad somewhere. And it's certainly one of our first interview questions is, are you comfortable working for a company with strong faith values? And some of my customers, they'll pray at the start of a meeting. So I'll say that, this is the kind of place where they do pray at the start of meetings, where they have scripture verses hanging on the walls. And I will have candidates tell me, no, I'm sorry, I'm just really not comfortable there. And then some candidates will say, yes, that sounds nice. And then other ones are jumping up and down. They're like, yes, I would love to work for a Christian company. And as long as they tell me it's okay, you can't discriminate based on religion, but still it's okay to say this is who we are you comfortable with this? And let them say yes or no. Some people really will eliminate at that point. So actually this one is one I got from Elmer from King's Swings. I think he's here somewhere. He was earlier. But anyway, he said that they really have a value of innovation there. He said, I think every idea is worth considering. He's like, we'll try all kinds of new things if our employees bring them to the table. So that's something unique. Some companies are this is how we do it. And some companies think a little more like Ray would want them to think and say, well, let's talk about that some more and let's learn through this. I had one customer tell me one time they were interior and exterior residential remodeler. And his comment to me was literally, if you don't like the job we're working on this week, just hang on, we got a different job next week. And I put that in his job ad. Because somebody who only wants to work outside and doesn't want to have to go into people's houses is not going to like this job. And somebody who only wants to work inside but not go outside is not going to like this job. But that's unique to him. Somebody who wants variety and a well-rounded skill set, good job for them. This is one of mine, inquisitive. We ask a lot of questions. We ask our business owners a lot of questions. Our candidates, we're interviewing them, we're asking them questions. So someone to be on my team, they have to be inquisitive, they have to be curious and ask questions. And that's something I've identified makes for a good teammate for us. One of my clients said, we're clean cut. We're going into our clients' homes. So we need our remodelers to have clean language. We expect them to dress appropriately. And he said, absolutely no tobacco use. And so that was a really strong value he had. And it was one that we talked about very early in the interview process. So Sam, I know you have a vision, mission, and values for your company. Do you mind sharing with us a little bit about what is in those statements?
Yeah, we are a faith-based company, and we kind of have the same thing where we, honor and glorify God through our creative exterior solutions. I should be able to quote it completely all the way through. We're actually looking at redoing it a little bit.
We'll cut you some slack. I only invited you an hour ago to do this.
But yeah, we also have it. But yeah, there's definitely things that we look at. Working in Pacific areas, we want our guys to be clean cut as well, and very conscious about where they're smoking, and not actually smoking on the property, and having a designated area on the job site if they're going to smoke. Tobacco uses, all those things are a big concern of ours. So
now, do you have your values listed out?
We do have them listed out.
Do you remember what they are off the top of your head?
Um, integrity, honesty, excellence, teamwork. Um, I don't have them all memorized.
Okay.
Over the top
You
of my
said
head.
integrity, honesty, teamwork. So those are some things you're going to want to talk to candidates about, or else put in your job ad early on in the process. This is who we are. This is what we believe. This is why we exist. And some people will self-eliminate when they find these things out, and other people will jump up and down and say, "That's what I'm looking for." But you have to know who you are, so that you know when you find someone who matches that. All right. So this is a hard question for a lot of businesses. And in the recession, we didn't have to answer this question. Okay, why would someone want to work for me instead of one of my competitors? In the recession, you put up a job ad, even a poorly written one, and you just got flooded with candidates. And that's going back to what I said. There were 6.6 job seekers for every one opening. And people were they were taking lowball offers. They were taking what they could get as far as employment. The game has changed. Now the job seekers have the upper hand. So you really do need to ask yourself, why does someone want to work for me? And if you don't have a good answer to that, I would encourage you to get busy working on it. Because it's not, I mean, the economy hopefully is going to continue to do really well, as we heard yesterday in Fulton Bank's presentation. I mean, just is looking very, very promising. So hiring is not getting any easier anytime soon. But here's some ones that my customers have given me as examples. I had one customer say, you know what, we just have a good time. We laugh all the time. We're always pranking each other. That's, it's just that kind of place. So if you don't like practical jokes, you don't want to go work for this guy. But if you like practical jokes, you're going to have a lot of fun. One company said, we set aside 10% of our budget for continuing education. That is a big deal to millennials. So knowing that you offer that and you can outline that as a company policy, that's worth putting in your job ad. That's worth talking about when you're talking to candidates. Actually, this is one from Fisher Brothers. We have office dogs. Now, if you're allergic to dogs, that's a bad thing, but most people like dogs, and if you're not allergic, that's a great thing. And actually my husband's company, they're located in Lidditz. They have a doggy daycare in the building. You can literally bring your dog to work with you and play with it on your lunch break. I mean, I was like, wow. They also have a human daycare, just so you know, but they do have a doggy daycare as well. But that's something really unique, and if that's important to you, boy, that's a draw. We offer flex time. This was actually one Master Design located not far from here. He said, you know what, if somebody has an appointment in the morning or at the end of the day, they can make up that time elsewhere in the week. They can come in early, they can stay late. He's like, I'm very flexible with my office staff and their schedule. That's a perk for somebody. Or maybe you have an elderly parent that you need to take to an appointment in the middle of the day, or you have a kid that has sports after school. Knowing that you can be flexible, huge, huge draw. Oh, another one of my customers, I'm going to skip down, but they were located in downtown Lancaster, so their employees could go out for lunch at whatever restaurant they wanted. That was a draw for them because they were a marketing company, and it was a big pool for a millennial-type candidate to be able to do that. So we already know that Fisher Brothers has office dogs. What else do you think you have to offer that maybe some of the other businesses in this room don't have to offer? And don't all steal his ideas.
Well, I should probably give the mic to a couple of our employees back here and put them on the spot here. But, I mean, we have created a culture, I think, in our business where, there's opportunity to learn and grow. We promote within. And so I think that's one of the big things. We also have, we do profit sharing and pay out incentives on projects with a team of installers.
I'm just going to say, they have a very good structure for profit sharing. And does it get paid out quarterly?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not even a year-end bonus. They get that quarterly, and they have a really good system worked out. And they're one of the few companies I know that doesn't have trouble hiring skilled labor, or at least they haven't yet, that I know of.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, because these quarterly bonuses are coming in, and their employees are like, yay, everyone, all my friends, come work with me. It's a great place.
Yeah.
Well, and this summer, you guys took a day off.
Oh yeah, we do fun events. We have we all go paintballing up to the Poconos for one day, so everybody gets to shoot at the owners, and it's a
Is that
really
why you had bruises?
yeah. And then after that, we go to Cabela's and make a whole full day out of it. So it's probably from 5:30 a.m. to about 9 p.m. So we're hanging out together. So fun events like that. We have customer. We have our picnic for our subcontractors that work with us and our in-house employees. We get together and play softball one day for that as well. And then we also have another picnic with our in-house employees. So
That's awesome.
several events that we do.
So they do a lot of team building at their company, and they work hard, really hard, but they also play hard. It's really cool to see that, the business owners just say, hey, we're going to have fun today, even if it means you miss our business meeting sometimes. Yeah, this summer I got an email. I'm not going to be at the club. We're all going paintballing today. I was like, oh, how fun is that? All right. Okay, so I hope this helped you see how asking good questions can really bring clarity to the hiring process. I know this seems a little bit tedious. If you ever want to use our services, I'll help you through this. But you can do this at home. And actually, if you stop at my table out here, you can drop your business card, or I'll have a paper there if you want to write down your name. And I can email you a list of these questions. Just take 1 hour. You and 1 or 2 of your key people take 1 hour and figure this all out so that when you get to the rest of your hiring process, you know what a winning candidate looks like, and you know what you have to offer them. And you're going to resist that temptation to do that warm body hire that results in a bad fit and lots of headaches and maybe poor customer service, whatever that position may be. But take some time and get that clarity. You're going to understand the type of person, their skills. You're going to know if their work history is a fit or not. You're going to be able to think a little bit about their personality. And we do offer personality assessments if anyone wants to use that as part of the hiring process. You're going to have your standards and expectations in place. And it's when you sit down across the table and you get to that interview stage, you're going to have a clear vision for what you want. I mean, I have had candidates tell me, I interviewed with them, but I don't feel like they even know what this job is yet. Or I sat on an interview with XYZ company, and they were kind of all over the place. That doesn't make a good impression of your company. But when you can clearly sit down and say, this is who we are, this is what this job is, and this is how this job fits into the company, you're really going to make a good impression on your candidate when you meet with them. So in summary, we're looking at what will this person do? That's the foundation. What type of person enjoys this job? And then why does this person want to work for me? So I hope I have convinced you that this is a worthwhile endeavor, even if it's maybe not your favorite one, but it's really the foundation for a great hiring process. So that is all I have to say about that. And I think I actually went over, so I don't know if I'm allowed to take questions or not. I can take one question if anyone has one. I was so good I answered all their questions. I will get me out of here. Thank you.